Buongiorno, ci troviamo qui verso il centro della Sicilia, nella Valle dei Morgeti, che è vicino l'antica Morgantina, che era un'antica città siciliana. E facciamo alcune considerazioni sull'età della Terra, per esempio, che nasce circa 4 miliardi e mezzo di anni fa e l'uomo appena 250.000, forse mezzo milione di anni fa. Un attimo. È come se fosse nato un attimo fa o qualche attimo fa. E ci poniamo la domanda, ma noi di questo pianeta cosa conosciamo? Sappiamo che ci sono 1.371.700 animali o specie animali. Beh, forse qualcuno ha dubitato dicendo che ve ne siano forse dai 2 milioni agli 11 milioni di animali che noi neppure conosciamo. Oppure abbiamo classificato 100.000 funghi? Beh, forse i funghi sicuramente saranno almeno altri 500.000, ma qualcuno presuppone che possono essere fino a 10 milioni. E le piante? 370.000 piante, qualcuno dice, ma no, forse saranno anche 450, 500.000. Quindi conosciamo pochissimo. Non conosciamo nulla di quello che è il nostro pianeta. Dei batteri, di cui noi siamo anche composti, per esempio, conosciamo appena l'1% dei batteri. Quindi siamo profondamente ignoranti di fronte a questa biodiversità che compone il pianeta. Ma questa biodiversità è stata o è divenuta l'utero che è stato preparato in questi 4 miliardi di anni per poter accogliere la venuta dell'uomo. E noi per ringraziare questo pianeta cosa abbiamo fatto? Abbiamo semplicemente accelerato il ritmo dell'estinzione. Solitamente una specie sul pianeta si estingue nell'arco di 1 milione di anni. Noi abbiamo accelerato questo ritmo e lo abbiamo accelerato da 100 anche a 1000 volte superiore al ritmo naturale della scomparsa delle specie. Perché amiamo la velocità, ma per poter essere veloci bisogna anche raggiungere dei profitti e quindi noi amiamo velocità e profitto, che è una tenaglia con la quale abbiamo costretto la biodiversità del pianeta che ci ha accolto e che continua a sostenerci. E questo è il ringraziamento che sappiamo fare. Allora, all'interno del comparto agricolo nasce l'idea di dover difendere questa biodiversità e nasce Simenza. Nasce Simenza, che è composta da allevatori e agricoltori, e le nostre differenze culturali, perché proveniamo da tante parti della Sicilia, le abbiamo volute sistemare utilizzando un modello che ci è provenuto dall'osservazione di un campo di grano evolutivo, dove fatto da popolazioni eterogenee, centinaia di varietà, e troviamo quindi spighe alte, basse, precoci, tardive, medio precoci, brune, ambrate, bionde, scure, aristate, mutiche, quindi non c'è una spiga uguale in questo campo di grano, ma osserviamo che le più alte difendono le più basse dalle piante infestanti, riconoscendo che le più basse difendono le più alte anche durante le notti di vento e di pioggia, per evitare che le più alte si allettino, si abbattino. Quindi questa differenza non diventa un errore, ma diventa un punto di forza sulla quale noi potremmo basare anche una società futura o una futura società, una auspicabile società. Quindi abbiamo visto che la biodiversità la abbiamo anche dentro le nostre viscere, la biodiversità è dentro le nostre viscere, e per poterne apprezzare la potenza e l'importanza, forse noi dovremmo rinunciare alla velocità, rallentando le nostre vite, affinché si possa avere una maggiore contezza del paesaggio che ci circonda e della biodiversità che ci circonda, che è stata creata, e noi siamo co-creatori all'interno di questo utero per destinare l'umanità non all'estinzione, così come noi faremmo, aumentandone il ritmo, ma verso una evoluzione.
Well, biodiversity is life. Life does not exist in monocultures. Life evolves in diversity, not just diversity of species, and there are millions and billions and trillions. But without biodiversity, we would not have the weaving of the web of life. It's the flow between biodiversity from one species to another that creates the conditions of a web of life on this living planet, which is the only living planet. So biodiversity is life, and biodiversity is necessary for enhancing life and well-being of all life, including human life. So what is biodiversity? It's just not the numbers of species. There used to be for a while an arithmetic approach, this many species and this much taxa. What I have learned in my 35 years of working in agricultural biodiversity, but 50 years of working with biodiversity in the forests and other ecosystems, is that biodiversity is relationship. Life exists because there are relationships between life. In each root of each plant, trillions of neurological interactions. Each plant itself, going from seed to plant, is an amazing evolution. And then when we eat that plant nourishes the biodiversity within us. People think biodiversity is out there because we have imagined we are separate from nature, but we are walking biodiversity. We have 380 viruses that make our body. We have 60 trillion microbes in our gut alone, and we have many microbiomes. So we are talking about the richness of life in amazing variation and amazing interaction. For a very short period, we have had an agriculture based on external inputs of toxic chemicals. But these chemicals have also trapped farmers in debt, and they have destroyed biodiversity because when you have an input, you must have just one kind of plant. Monocultures and external inputs go together. Biodiversity and self-organized mutuality go together. So biodiverse systems were destroyed and chemical monocultures were created, which are nutritionally empty. The social impact of this is small farmers are destroyed, their livelihoods are destroyed, our health is destroyed, chronic diseases because of chemicals in food and nutritionally empty food are exploding. That is why we've done a manifesto on food for health. And if you look at any country, the uniqueness of a country doesn't come from the cities, it comes from the countryside. The food, cultures of different countries. If we have so many kinds of diets in India, it's because the biodiversity is so rich. So the impact of destruction of biodiversity is huge, and the impact of regenerating biodiversity is even better. It's also a very important concept because a tribal farmer taught me while I was collecting seeds for Navdanya that the planetary balance, the ecological balance through the biodiversity on the land and the balance in our body which makes health is one continuum of peace and harmony, and it is our duty to maintain this harmony. So Navdanya has a deep cosmic concept, but it basically began as a movement for saving seeds. And this began because in 1987 at a meeting where the old chemical companies were there, they said now we need to make more money by owning the seed and not allowing farmers to save seeds. That I will work for the freedom of the seed, I will protect seeds. We have created 150 community seed banks. Globally, we have created a seed freedom movement for people to start saving seeds and reclaim their seed freedom and seed sovereignty. Among the most important outcomes of this has been first and foremost that in having saved seeds, we have seeds that can deal with climate havoc. Salt-tolerant seeds that we can plant after cyclones, drought-tolerant seeds that can deal with climate extremes. We have seeds that are nourishing and nutritious, and even though their yield might be less, their nutrition is much more. So we We don't measure yield per acre, we measure health per acre and nutrition per acre, and we can feed 2 times the world population by saving old seeds which were bred for nourishment and not for greed. Finally, we have realized that this also improves the welfare of the farmers, because farmers are getting into a negative economy by spending more on the cost of production and earning next to nothing by growing commodities on which they don't decide the price. When farmers have their own seed, they can do ecological agriculture, they can create local markets of direct relationships with those who want to eat good food. And in our Navdanya experience, we have found that when we do a true cost, farmers earn 10 times more than farmers chasing the rat race in a chemical treadmill. And most importantly, the country saves a lot because we don't spend $1.3 trillion on social and ecological damage. If we add the health damage, it is another 1.5 trillion. So bigger than the GDP is the shadow and externality of industrial farming. Ecological agriculture with biodiversity as the foundation, biodiversity agroecology, has positive benefits for all life. The pollinators on our farm are 6 times more than in the forest. We didn't start to conserve water, but the water level has come up 70 feet. No matter what you look at, the climate problem, the extinction problem, the water crisis, the health emergency, the rural poverty crisis, everything gets solved by protecting the biodiversity of seed. The big companies are now talking about farming without farmers. They're talking about digital agriculture and precision agriculture and creating all kinds of new mystification. Like at the time of the chemical agriculture, they said we are now going to make bread from air because they could fix atmospheric nitrogen to make synthetic fertilizers, but they destroyed the land. They didn't make food from air. They are now trying to make it look like digits create food, not the soil, not the seed, not the biodiversity, not the care of the farmer. This is even more important now because now there's an attempt to make fake food. They first adulterated food. You know a difference between a true tomato and a tomato bred for chemicals. The second one doesn't have taste. You know the difference between food that is processed at home or in a good cafe versus the industrial systems that are causing diseases. But now they want to use GMO soya to make lab food. Impossible Burger is an example. 14 patents associated for it. If a seed gives you food, the corporations don't make money. If they can fake the food, trillions and trillions of profits, but trillions of expenditure on the part of people for sicknesses they'll have. So the message to farmers is protect your biodiversity. You are not just the healers of the soil. You are the healers of a sick society. You are the doctors, you are the physicians. And continue to do this work with care and with love and with the deepest courage and resistance to every wrong action.